Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another exciting edition of The Game Changer. I am indeed your host, Nate the Effing Great, being joined here by the lovely, charismatic, and always delightful Miss VicTori Belle. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm feeling pretty good. Now, a lot of people can already see by the title of the show that we're going to be talking about the best of DC's comics superheroes. Now, obviously, we've had mixed feelings about this, mainly more me than VicTori Belle, where she is basically the patriarch, the more positive representative of DC Comics, and I've not exactly been highly favored into them, but I thought this would be a good chance for us to actually discuss some of the better parts of DC, specifically some of the heroes that they've had. Now, some of these you probably already know. It might sound like we're repeating ourselves, but in honesty, it's our list, so if you have any difference of opinions on that, leave it in the comment section, or just make your own list. I mean, by all means. We actually would like to know what you guys think is the best DC had to offer as far as superhero-wise. But let's just not waste any time. Let's just go right into it. I think it's only fair that since you are the more positive representative of DC, that you should go first. What would be your first favorite superhero in the DC comic universe?
So I don't know if we're going in any sort of order. Did you care about that? Or?
No, not really.
Alright, so no order. I might make it an order for myself.
No, that's fine.
I tried to pick a few here and there, and I have maybe an honorable mention too, if I think about it. Let's see. So my first one, I'm going to go with Martian Manhunter. I talked about him before. He first debuted in Detective Comics number 225 in 1955. He obviously comes from Mars, and I believe the whole backstory is we were kind of looking at the comic book is we're looking through Mars and we find these aliens, and he's the last living Martian, and his planet went through a series of typical kind of stuff that our planet was going through, and it happened that all the Martians were wiped out. And Martians in general can do a lot of really cool things that we can't. He's telekinetic, he can lift things with his mind, he can read thoughts, he can connect people's minds, he can transform himself into basically anything. He can go invisible, he can phase through walls. I mean, he's just really cool. So he just has the ability to shapeshift and phase through things and stuff that you would kind of just imagine doing, and it would be really fun. So I think he's really, really powerful. I know he doesn't like heat, so fire is always bad for him. But in general, he would be a really hard person to defeat with all those abilities. It's just good that when he calls himself John Jones, that's his kind of Earth name. He's a really moral guy, so we're good that he's on our side.
Yeah, that's actually pretty sweet. Now, I would have probably put Martian Manhunter on my list as well, but I think he would be considered my honorable mention. And one of the reasons why is that when I was looking up descriptions on the superheroes and basically what they're about and looking at their superpowers, one of the first things that one of the lists I came across was when they talked about Martian Manhunter. They said, "Oh, if you thought Superman had it bad, he got sent away as a baby." Martian Manhunter had to basically witness his people and his family basically getting killed right in front of him. I'm like, oh my god, that is, oh man, I think that would probably be the one superhero where he may have the darkest backstory next to a couple of others, but as soon as I read that, I'm like, yeah, that's going to trump Superman by a long shot, in my opinion.
Meaning more hurt, yeah. So
yeah.
That's not a good thing.
No. I'm not trying to say. Well, I don't even know what I'm trying to say, but no, you understand what I'm saying. So I guess going into my fifth pick, or whatever order we're doing, keeping it in the green, which is kind of ironic, because nobody can really see this, but she's also wearing green as well, VicTori Belle. The first one that I got on my list is actually the Green Lantern. Now, I know, we had a big debate last year where we were basically stating, was he a good superhero? Was he a bad superhero? And obviously, I got absolutely demolished and basically proven wrong that Green Lantern is definitely a superhero that's worth noticing. And really kind of letting it sink in a bit. It's like he really is something that is very cool to look at, cool to watch. The power of the ring definitely does make him a more standout superhero. And the fact that, he's a part of part of the legions of Green Lanterns that are out there. And already I'm thinking to myself, that's hard to really top. I mean, yes, they basically all have the same superpower, but at the same time, it works out because if it's like one Green Lantern in every single planet or every single universe, that's a lot of people. So that's actually really cool to see that.
Yeah, that was surprising to me. I can't believe you picked that. That's interesting.
Well, hey, it was your argument that basically made me rethink it, where it was like, let's see here, this one. Green Lantern, I gave him a lot of flack. He definitely is one of those guys that I think deserves a little more credit, so throwing Green Lantern in there. I'm hoping that when they do their next, remake for the Green Lantern, it turns out a bit better than the last one. That's what I'll say for the movie part. But comics, he's definitely one of those guys that I think a lot of people really think does not get that much credit. But I think he's definitely a really cool superhero to actually give props to, especially in the DC universe. And who knows, he may be in the next Justice League movie. You never know. I mean, they already did kind of give a little bit of a hint at that during one of the flashbacks, was it, for Justice League? They did that?
Yeah, they showed the Green Lantern Corps being there, so
we can only hope, that they bring him back and hopefully cooler and not so much, CGI. Maybe they'll actually not be lazy and just decide, okay, let's actually make the costumes this time. Let's not just do full-on CGI, because obviously it didn't work out too well. But anyway, so what's your next pick for your favorite superhero in DC Comics?
I guess I will do the next really big one is I really enjoy Superman, so I picked Superman. He kind of brings along a kind of a cool crew of people that have been the supers, like Supergirl, Superboy, all these random supers that happened when he was dead. But I think there's something to say about, he's literally like the first superhero to kind of make this a thing. Like, he came out in 1938 with Action Comics Volume Number 1, and he paved the way for superheroes of today. Obviously, he is super powerful, and everybody sometimes is like, well, like, we don't like that he's a Boy Scout, and there's no way to kill him. Even when he dies, they decide to bring him back randomly. But yeah, it's because you can't kill Superman, otherwise it's over. Everything's over. And DC thought it was a good idea. It was a cool storyline, the death of Superman, and I mean, we all kind of saw it too in the movies. Superman's dead. Oh wait, maybe he's not. I think any DC Comics fan knew, like, when Superman died, like, wow, they've already pulled this out, okay. They want to remember the fact that they killed him and brought him back really quick. Cool. But yeah, he's a great superhero. We all know him. A lot of people enjoy doing the who's better, Superman or Batman, and most people would say Batman. I don't know why, because Superman's way more powerful, but yeah, I like Superman, and I like readjusting his temperaments and his ego so that he does have that something to kind of give him a little less of a Boy Scout look. Like when he he's a little cocky that he is Superman, and that, like, oh, things aren't going good until Superman comes. I like him feeling that he is the most powerful and sometimes thinking he can handle it all himself, and then that is the way to humanize him. That is the way that the DC Comics are trying to humanize him, giving him a little more comedy, giving him these things that make people like, wow, it's kind of like, that's a little bit of a asshole thing to say, but it makes you think like, oh, like I can connect with him because I know somebody that's like that, and then I had to help him one time, and it was cool because I felt good for helping them, and they realized, hey, you're not all that in a bag of potato chips. So yeah, I always love stories about Superman. I realized this, that even like some of the Batman stories, I haven't watched all the Batman movies that have been out there in DC animation and all this, but I always watch the Superman stories because I know they're going to be good, and I know they're going to be inclusive with a lot of other characters because they throw the other characters in to help support Superman's cause because we kind of need them sometimes. But yeah, I really like it. Love Supergirl too, but I wanted to pick the guy who brought it all together, so I did.
Hey, in all fairness, like you said, he was definitely a pioneer when it comes to what superheroes would become today. Now, obviously, Marvel has a completely different idea what a superhero is, but DC Comics definitely, when they brought Superman into the fray, definitely really set the bar on what, this is what a superhero is like. And also mentioning a little bit about Superman, and this is just kind of something I'm basing off of the Injustice 2 video game, and I'm not sure if it's very accurate to comics and magnums or whatever they have for them. Isn't there a time where actually Superman kind of goes to a little bit more of a darker place than what he is normally?
That is the Injustice version, the storyline.
Okay.
And their storylines where they always do that. They try to oh, what if in the other world Superman, he's evil? DC enjoys other planets and other worlds. I think all comics do, but whenever I see storylines that are prominent, DC likes to do World 2 Superman. World 2 Superman is not cool. He is not a good guy. Or World 2, what are you talking about? Oh, the other dimensions, there's billions of them. Oh, okay, cool. But yeah, so yes, there's always a storyline is what if Superman was evil? And look at, oh my gosh, look at how crazy mad he is, and how doomed we all are. And it gives you a story that you're this is kind of interesting. I will watch and read this, or I will play the video game because that's an interesting thing to follow. And that's what Superman brings, even if it's just not him, but he brings these inevitable things that people can latch onto and really think about and be oh, what would happen? I want to follow this. I want to see where this goes.
Yeah, there's always a bit of a risk taking a good guy and then turning him into a bad guy. There's sometimes that it'll pay off, but then there's other times where it's just I don't know if that's going to be the best idea. I think that Superman right now, he's done so much with in the comics and with movies and stuff like that. I think it's kind of understandable that they want to try to take that risk of having him play on the other end of the spectrum, just having him be, that crazy what if scenario, like you said, of having him become basically evil and having him become this person that everybody's just oh boy, are we going to survive this, or are we all doomed? And sadly, that was one of the scenarios that they played out in Injustice 2. Where it was just oh, great, he's fully in charge. Oh, okay, we're basically done. We're done. Just surrender your will to the Superman before he basically decides to go Bane on your ass. All right, so let's see. Next one for me. This might be a bit of an interesting one, but I think just how she plays off really kind of intrigues me the most. Next one I have is Starfire. A lot of people might know her from Teen Titans, and she's definitely gotten a lot more media following ever since the Teen Titans have gone. I can't say Teen Titans go. I think that was where Teen Titans started falling off the wagon. I think that's what a lot of critics have said. But Starfire's character I kind of looked into, and she definitely does have that kind of moniker where she's still kind of innocent, and she's still kind of like a goody-goody. She wants to get along with everybody, but she does still have that kind of relatable characteristic where she's still trying to learn everything from our world, and she's still trying to learn what's, the right thing and what's the wrong thing. And for me, and you could basically let me know if I'm wrong, I think she's just one of those people that you can look at and kind of feel sorry for her at times, because she just seems like she's, how do I put this? She's almost like this goody-goody, but she also has that personality where you do feel sorry for her whenever she just starts feeling bad about things that she's done, where it's almost like a kid who's just learning things for the first time. She has that kind of personality about her where she realizes she did something wrong, she feels bad. It's just like, you know what? It's okay. Just don't do that next time. It's like, we're going to talk about this, but just don't do that next time. It's just not a good thing. I don't know. Am I wrong in assuming that?
That she feels bad about. Well, she's not really for certain about her power all the time, because like if we're going off of the Teen Titans and everything, she was basically like crash landed on this planet by being chased by bounty hunters trying to kill her from her home planet. So she was basically chased out of her home and has to be sentenced to Earth then. And that's when she joins the Teen Titans. And, I mean, she can learn stuff by kissing people and whatnot, like languages and stuff about the normal planet. And I love Starfire, too. I always enjoy that. My whole honorable mention is the Teen Titans in general, because I love all of their storylines. And I love when it's Teen Titans versus Justice League. That's a great animated feature that they have. But yeah, no, Starfire is relatively very positive, happy-go-lucky type of character, so it's really fun, and she just doesn't always understand her powers yet, because she came as like a teenager, and she didn't really get trained in it, so sometimes she does stuff and she can't believe it, and it hurts people, and yeah, she's like, oh, that sucks, I didn't mean to hurt someone.
Yeah, I think she does kind of remind me of a teenager that's still trying to learn things from, just growing up and learning that this is not the okay thing and this is not the best thing. It's like, no, this is fine. Just I wouldn't do this like all the time. She just seems like one of those characters that definitely does, have that kind of feel about her where you do still feel a bit sorry for her, because she's still new to the planet, and coming from that background and being basically forced off her planet and being chased by bounty hunters, just kind of one of those things where it's like she really is kind of one of those. I don't know. Would I say lovable characters? Yes, just because she definitely, her character and just how she looks definitely makes her out to be one of those characters that you kind of instantly fall in love with. But once you get to know her a little bit deeper, you definitely have more of an appreciation for it. It is kind of one of those things where it's like love at first sight, but then you appreciate her more as the person that she is, or the. Can you give me an idea on what species she is, just so I don't screw it up?
I think she's a Coriander, but she's alien.
Yeah, Coriander. I'm just going to go Coriander and just not...
Tamaran is her planet. I don't know what the species they call her, but she's Coriander of Tamaran. She's a princess.
Okay. Oh, she's a princess. She's a princess, too. Oh, jeez. Man, I am loving her more and more the more we're talking about her right now. Justice League, DC, get her in on the movie, please. I want to see Starfire in this movie. Just for love of all that is high and mighty, I want to see it. And also bring Nightwing, because that's going to be my next pick. But I'm jumping the gun here. So, who have you got next?
I will go for another one that I've talked a lot about. Most of these I've talked a lot about. But I obviously had to pick Swamp Thing for one of them.
Swamp Thing.
Yes, everybody knows I love Swamp Thing. It was really sad to hear this summer that, his creator died. But, yeah, he came out in 1971 with The House of Secrets. Ooh. Basically, there's a few different storylines, but Alec Holland, a scientist, kind of got turned into the Green Avatar by. There's different stories. There's like, oh, he died in war, and then they like put him into this swamp, and this Green Avatar came onto him, or he like had a failed experiment, and all of a sudden now he's Swamp Thing. There's always the question is he actually Alec Holland, or did he just somehow like feel like he is Alec Holland? Is he not really that guy, and he just took his memories and trying to kind of have some sort of connection with humanity? But yeah, Swamp Thing has a really good storyline that is kind of all by himself, but he does get pulled into some of the Justice League scenarios and Justice League Dark he was in. He's just super powerful, and it's just really cool. Like, it's a cool idea of, like, making this plant creature be so strong, and he can go to different planets, but if they have plants on them, because he's connected to all plants everywhere, and, like, everything. Like, his body is just really not anything. Like, you can burn his whole body down, but if there's a plant on the other side of the planet, he can regenerate. So it's like, oh, okay, he'll regenerate on the other side and then maybe come back, who knows. But yeah, it's just a really interesting story that, and like I said, I love Beauty and the Beast, so there is this like little love tale in there of his, his girlfriend / like I think she was his fiance when this happened, and how he's trying to, get back with her in some sort, and they sometimes have a storyline, sometimes they don't. But no, it's really cool, and his stories are always really great, and it would be cool to see him on the big screen one day. I don't necessarily see it happening anytime soon, but even giving him more of his own little stuff would be great that doesn't involve Harley Quinn, because I don't know what that was.
Hey, your guess is as good as mine. I'm going to make the bold prediction that we'll at least see Swamp Thing once, or at least some kind of figure that looks like Swamp Thing by 2020. I'm making that bold prediction right now, because with all these other movies that they are bringing up, all the reboots that they're doing, you have to think that he's going to get tied in there somewhere. So that's my bold prediction for going in within the next couple of years. He'll probably pop up somehow. And there is going to probably come a time where I'm going to see like a little... What's that?
He's already been in some cartoons.
No. I'm talking about like in the live action deals, like either in Justice League or in one of the spin-off movies that they do in the DC movie universe.
Yeah, I mean, that's very bold. I don't see it going anywhere towards Swamp Thing. They're really sticking with the space right now, but we'll see.
Yeah, hey.
And I don't know any spin-offs of DC right now. I guess Suicide Squad is kind of a spin-off, but I don't know what they're doing with that either, so...
It just kind of raises the question, what are they going to do? Are they going to go in this direction? Are they going in this direction? But we'll find out in the future. And if that day does happen, where I do see like some kind of remnants where it looks like Swamp Thing came around or something like that, immediately, even if it's during the movie, I will probably send a text to you just saying like, I told you. And just be like, yeah. It's like, don't spoil the movie for me. It'd be like, oh yeah, sorry. So basically, Swamp Thing, from everything that you've told me, is almost like the Father Nature in comparison to Mother Nature, basically, where he can take control of plants and just be completely OP. And from what you're telling me, he sounds more OP than Superman.
Yeah, I don't know if he's more OP than Superman, but because Superman is, all of my picks are OP. Why wouldn't you pick OP people? But
fair enough.
But yeah, I don't know who would win. That's a good thing. That would kind of be fun to watch, because I think that Swamp Thing might have less vulnerabilities than Superman, but then again, Swamp Thing almost is vulnerable with plants. Like, he doesn't like when people are messing with his flowers and stuff. So it's like, don't mess with his flowers, and then go and attack the humans, and Superman would be like, don't mess with my humans. So I don't know. Because Swamp Thing doesn't really care about humanity like that. He cares about a few people, but he doesn't really care about humanity like that because he's the green avatar. So that's the real explanation of Avatar of the Green. So he doesn't really have a sex either, because I think most plants have both in them. So.
Okay, well, we're not going to go whole Jurassic Park on here right now. But literally, I'm hoping that if DC ever do this, I would actually pay to see a movie that's entitled Superman versus Swamp Thing. I would literally love to see how that battle goes out. Probably somebody has it on YouTube, but if DC ever were to do that, I would still watch that.
The more interesting thing would be the motive behind it, like what brought this upon them. Because it's not just something that can happen, because both of them are very, very intelligent creatures, too. Like,
right.
They're not dumb. They're not just going to be like, no, like, and like roar at each other. But, like, they're not, like, the Hulk, they can do the Hulk versus anyone, because he'll all of a sudden just go insane and be like, all right, now we're fighting. Now these two would be like, wait, if I fight you and then our fight explodes the planet, then that's all my hard work gone to waste. And he's like, oh yeah, me too. And I'm like, all right, let's just not do this. Okay, sounds
Well, they could pull up Batman vs Superman and just have like Jesse Eisenberg get involved somehow, because God knows that worked out very well last time.
Well, they had a motive though. Like Batman had a motive to verse Superman, and it was a good motive on his own terms. He's paranoid a little. It's Batman. He's always there's a little mental, like, I'm gonna have plan A through Z, and before you even get through plan A, I'll be already at Z if I have to be. So.
Hey, it's hard to disagree with that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I already revealed what my next one's going to be. It is Nightwing, a.k.a. Robin, a.k.a. Dick Grayson, a.k.a. whatever name that they've come up with for him. And Nightwing is just one of those guys that I've really just enjoyed reading the evolution of how Dick Grayson goes to being Robin, and just knowing the story between him and Batman, how it was kind of like a father-son type deal, and then Robin decided to go off on his own and become Nightwing, which, oh gosh, it definitely turned him into a bigger badass superhero than, Dick Grayson, college student. Yes, I pulled a Val Kilmer quote, so sue me. It's one of those things I just really enjoyed, seeing Nightwing just doing his thing and just really becoming a superhero of his own. It's one of those first cases where you actually see a sidekick actually go out, branch out into his own, and become his own hero, where he's not going to just fade off. He's not going to just die off. He's not going to just be that random person that just gets forgotten. They found a way to refresh his character and actually make him into something that people are going to be like, oh wow, this is actually kind of interesting. Let's see what's going on here. And they've had great movies with Nightwing, and they've even, I think, didn't they do like a Batman versus Nightwing movie at one point?
Nightwing has been in a few different of the animated features. Like, he was in the Teen Titans versus the Justice League, so if you saw, like, him fighting Batman, he was fighting Batman in that one.
Okay.
But, he doesn't, like, the reason that Dick Grayson, like, decided, like, I want to do my own thing is because him and Batman were disagreeing on so many fronts, and when you disagree with your partner that much, it's like, alright, maybe we shouldn't be partners no more.
Yeah, I
feel like we're getting, or aren't we getting a movie called The Graysons? I'm almost for sure we are.
We might be. I'll have to. I think I might have a little bit of time. I think I'll get into that right now.
Yeah, because I could be like just making this up, or maybe I wanted to see this, and I'm just like thinking like, oh, if I believe it, I'll achieve it. But no, I think we're getting a movie called The Graysons, where we're kind of going to see, the Acrobat family at their prime, and kind of see the creation of why Dick is the way he is, and what happened, and why he went to Batman.
Well, there is one that was in 2004, but it was like a small independent film. It was called Grayson. As far as oh wait, you said The Grayson? Maybe that was why.
The Grayson.
Grayson.
I want The Grayson.
the Graysons, plural. I think maybe that I did it singular. It's going to nope, gave me the same thing.
Okay.
Well,
I kind of thought there was something. I thought I saw something that was in the makings, but I could be wrong. And if I am, no worries. But I think that would be a great film to watch, like the beginning of who Dick Grayson is. I mean, his family was a whole bunch of acrobat circus dwellers who traveled around the world, showing how amazing their physical attributes were, and then they all got murdered except Dick. And it's kind of a really cool thing.
well, hold on. There is an article that says here, Warner Brothers plotting live-action Nightwing movie with Lego Batman movie director, exclusive Hollywood Reporter. So this happened in February of last year, so it looks like they may be going in that direction to give Nightwing his own movie, and who knows, maybe it'll be entitled The Graysons or something like that, where we definitely do get more background on who Dick Grayson is, because the only background I have is what you mentioned, was that he was a part of the Flying Graysons, and his family got killed, which ended up him becoming an orphan, and then eventually joining Batman to become Batman and Robin. Of course, that was Batman Forever, and that was, who was the one that killed him? Oh, Two-Face. Well, their version of Two-Face. The one that was literally just this guy who just had like a multiple personality disorder. But, well, honestly, I thought it was good, but it was one of those things where, you know, when you see him in Dark Knight, it's like, oh, okay, they went a darker direction. Okay, then. So, not expecting that crazy, kooky, random stuff that he did in Batman Forever. Cool. Okay, then.
Right? Like, all right. I mean, all of those, the 1990s Batman series, like, they were all very cartoony, so.
Well,
people enjoy them.
Would we say that about the Michael Keaton Batman movies? Because I've watched both of them, and they were definitely not. I mean, there were some parts that were cartoony, I will admit that, but for the rest of it, it was basically Tim Burton genius. I mean, it was a lot darker, the stories were a little more in depth, and also I will agree with a lot of people that say that Michael Keaton is the best Batman. It's hard to top that.
But yeah, I don't know, I always think they're a little, I think that Tim Burton always likes to make kind of his own little world out of it. Like, wasn't that the one with the penguin and stuff?
Yeah, the first one was with Jack Nicholson as Joker, and the second one was with Danny DeVito as the Penguin.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of, you know, made their own world. Like, here's me riding on this huge balloon.
Here's me riding on a little toy duck.
Right, yeah, like, what is he doing? But, yeah, I don't think they're bad movies. They obviously had their time, but they were really, like, colorful, too, like, in their own way. Like a bright purple and bright green, and, you know, like,
yeah.
Gave them colors that, you know, old 80s comic books did the same thing. Like, everyone's going to be bright, crazy colors. When we go fight, I hope you see me so you can snipe me. Like, what?
Right.
And that's where some people are like, oh, why is everything so dreary and dark in DC? Why is everything so dark now? It's like, they were always semi-dark. They just decided to blast them with color to give them a makeover, and now it's, again, they're making them over into more realistic, like, would you wear that? No. Unless you're a cosplayer.
Yeah, it is one of those things where I think that you mentioned, you know, in the 80s and 90s, they definitely did try to brighten it up a little bit with the movies were, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. They definitely did try to make it a little more colorful. I think it's more appeasing to the kids. But, you know, it worked out for their time. But I think that more people definitely appreciated them going back to the darker times where you definitely see more darker character development. The background stories are a bit more darker. It's not always, you know, fun and fancy free, you know. It's just more real. It's more relatable. There's probably somebody out there who's like, you know, I feel the exact same way as, you know, Bruce Wayne feels half the time, or how Superman feels. It's one of those things where they try to make it more real to where people can actually relate to those characters and say, you know what, I know somebody that's like that, or I know how he's going through, which, you know, is one of the things I'll admit DC does a really good job with.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we ranted long enough about life stories and stuff like that, but so I believe that you are next. Who do you got?
My next one is one I haven't really talked about ever, so I like that. But I'm talking about her a lot more now because I'm like doing fewer costumes, but this is one of the costumes I'm planning on doing, is Big Barda, who I am predicting is going to be in probably the next Justice League movie. It would be cool if they did this, because it would give us another female who is super powerful and crazy, kind of like Wonder Woman. She has a Wonder Woman vibe around her, and they clash all the time. So it would be fun to see this play out. So she debuted in 1971 in Mr. Miracle. Mr. Miracle is actually her husband, and they met being under Darkseid, and Darkseid on Apocalypse. Everyone should kind of know who Darkseid is. He's the Thanos of the DC universe, the big, powerful guy that everybody's going to want and need to destroy because he wants to control the universe and take over all the planets. And we didn't really get to see him yet in the Justice League, which I was very happy. I applauded them. But instead of sending somebody we know and love from the Darkseid reign, we sent, Steppenwolf?
It's Beowulf's brother.
Superheroes, and Steppenwolf does not get his own page, I promise you that. But Big Barda gets her own page. So Big Barda is part of the Furies, Darkseid's female Furies, that he captures all these really strong women throughout the universe and kind of has them be gladiators, and they fight to the death and stuff. And if you get this giant Warhammer, you're the authority figure, and you're the top Fury. And Big Barda she always attained the hammer of the gods, and she was always the top Fury, the authority figure who, whenever Darkseid needed something to get done, he would send Big Barda out, and she would get stuff done for him. So she was a bad guy for a time, but once Mr. Miracle, who was Darkseid's adopted son, I know this is a lot, but Mr. Miracle was traded for Darkseid's son. I feel like I forget what planet it was off the top of my head, but they traded in order for Darkseid not to destroy the planet that Mr. Miracle comes from. So he was an adopted son who was basically a prisoner for Darkseid, and Big Barda was also, or Barda, her name's just Barda, but they call her Big Barda because she's 7 feet tall. But
oh, lovely.
Yeah, she's a giant war general. But yeah, so she is a prisoner who is made to fight all the time and fight for Darkseid. And there's a time that, she follows Granny Goodness, or Granny, like this old lady who they always give a male voice to, which is really funny. But she's kind of another henchling of Darkseid that goes and steals all these women. And there's a storyline that was kind of fun, that they steal Supergirl, and they want Supergirl to be the hammer of the gods, the main female Fury, when Barda leaves, and Barda escapes with Mr. Miracle. And so I think it's actually called Batman and Superman, or Superman and Batman versus Supergirl. Like, there's an animated film about this, and it's really cool. And they ask for Big Barda's help, or they don't really ask, but Big Barda makes sure, she's like, you need my help, so I'm gonna go with you. And then, her and Superman kind of get into it, because she's an immortal and a very powerful superhuman who's really smart, really strong, and has all these cool weapons, and she's a freaking general who led Darkseid's army, so she's kind of a badass. So yeah, I really like her. I think that if somebody would pop up in the new movies, I feel this person is going to pop up, and it's going to be really cool. Because her and Wonder Woman have great banter, her and Superman have great banter, and she just brings along this, powerful female army that DC doesn't really right now have much females that they can bring out besides Wonder Woman and the Amazons, but in all honesty, the Amazons don't go to battle with Wonder Woman. They go to battle for themselves, and we got to see them in the Justice League movie, but I've been having this, like, inner mind quarrel of, like, who are they going to bring to represent, like, females in this world, like, in their DC world? I don't see them bringing many people that they could bring, and everyone's like, well, aren't they going to do Hawkgirl and stuff? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. Because I didn't see anything. I didn't even see in the back story, like, we did see the Green Lantern Corps, and we did see some other people, but I didn't get this, like, idea that they're going to bring the Hawk people in, which would be cool too, but there's just not many options for DC to bring females that could be notable and actually strong, and instead of just, like, being, like, semi-humans who decide to be thieves, and then, like, oh, sure, like, if they throw a Catwoman in this, like, I'll be like, why would she fight? Like, she's gonna die.
Right.
So I think that Big Barda would be a really cool thing, and it would be really cool, because I would think that the Justice League is going to have a trilogy, so there's going to be 3, and if they open it up with Justice League 2 having, you know, they'll bringing Darkseid's more notable, like, followers to come and be the main villains for this, it would be really cool. Also, showing Darkseid would be also extremely cool. And then having number 3, having his own legion kind of leave him and fight for us, for the Justice League, that would be kind of the more memorable story, and the thing that you're like, oh, that's cool, because, like, they are able to, you know, coerce Big Barda to being like, dude, you're fighting for the wrong side. This guy's freaking insane, and he stole you from your home planet. Like, why are you fighting so hard for him? And then her and Mr. Miracle escape and join the Justice League. So it'd be really cool to see.
Well, I could definitely, and this is getting a little off topic, but I know that probably cosplayers get this a lot, that since they're so, you know, embellished and being dressed up in costume and looking like the characters so much, that there are probably people that have that are asking them, it's like, you know, do you think this is going to happen with, you know, DC? Do you think this is going to happen with Marvel? Do you ever have that issue where people just ask you for, like, information that they think you're supposed to know, like, oh, what's going to go on with DC or what's going to go on with Marvel? And it's just like, I don't know. I'm not in their ear range where it's just like, it's like I know what's happening next.
Well, I mean, I think everybody likes to talk about it like that. Like, what do you think? What do you think? I don't know. What do you think? I think everybody does that. I don't think that's just a cosplayer thing. I mean, we just did it.
Right. No, I'm saying like, you know, they think that you have more insight on what's going on in the world of DC and Marvel.
I mean, I think I do than other people, because I do research it. Like, I'm like, oh, who's going to be in this movie? And they already have casted actors for a lot of these movies. So it's like, so-and-so is going to be what? Wait, Superman's going to be in the new Justice League? He didn't die? What? Like, any of those, you can look this stuff up. Like, they can't really keep everything a secret. Like, in the Infinity War, you would like to know all the characters in Infinity War. I'm betting your money that it's going to be on IMDb. Like, go. You can see however many characters you'd like to see that are in the movie. But, so, yeah, if people don't look this up and then ask cosplayers, and if cosplayers know, then cool. I think that's a great thing. But no, of course I don't know. I'm not an inside producer or something of the Justice League movies. I'm not that cool. But I would love to one day do stuff like that, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Never know. They may just call you up and just say, like, hey, VicTori Belle, would you like to be one of our insiders for Justice League?
I'd be like, no, cast me as Big Barda.
Oh, man. You working with Gal Gadot would honestly be one of the most entertaining things I could see. I could just see you. I could see that. I'm just thinking to myself, man, she was appreciating Wonder Woman for so long, and now she's right next to basically this incarnation of Wonder Woman. So I can only imagine, like, on screen you're very confident, but, like, behind the scenes, like, your hands are just shaking. It's like, oh my god, that's Gal Gadot, and that's Ben Affleck, and that's blah, 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 blah. Just...
No, I wouldn't be like that. But I would be excited to work with them. But I don't really get, like, I don't really get like that. Especially if it's a job, it's a job. I know it would be more exciting if I would like to imagine me being starstruck by these people. Go right ahead and imagine me being starstruck. But if it's a job, it's a job. I'm at the same level as them if I'm hired to work with them. So it would be weird acting like that. Like, oh my god, can I have your autograph? Stay in the scene, girl. Like, what are you doing?
No, I don't see you going like that far, but I do think that I could see you just being just like a little bit shook up and having like goosebumps, where you're just like, oh man, this is actually happening. Holy cow, this is awesome.
I would definitely like to do some behind the scenes filming. Yes. Selfie.
Right. and they're just like drinking coffee, and you just took a selfie with them, whatever. And then Ben Affleck's just like, hey, if you really want to make a good selfie, you got to do it when I'm paying attention. It's like, okay.
So like, he would be like, sad face all the time. Like, he's still depressed about being Batman.
Selfie. Oh, man.
Look at how upset he is.
Oh, man, this is a perfect transition because my next favorite superhero in DC is, in fact, Batman. And I know it worked out perfectly. Of course, everybody knows the story about Bruce Wayne lost his parents when he was younger, and then he decided to finally make better with his life and go and fight crime. And I've watched, I think, almost every single incarnation of Batman, from Michael Keaton to Val Kilmer to George Clooney to Christian Bale to, of course, Ben Affleck. Just all honesty, every single one of them are, of course, going to be different, but they all bring something positive to each one of them. I mean, they definitely do bring on the, Bruce Wayne characteristics. I think, in my opinion, if they were to somehow be able to do a deal where it was Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne, him outside of Batman, Val Kilmer's Batman voice, and Christian Bale's Batmobile, I think that you would have me sold for like the perfect Batman movie right there. Because I look at the classic Batmobile and I'm just kind of like, it's okay. I mean, just now comparing that to the Christian Bale Batmobile, I'm like, yeah, this thing's much more cooler. I'm sorry, but it's basically a tank. So, yeah, let's just go in that realm. Just give him a tank basically and just let him go and just drive around the streets, whatever. And Batman, again, is just one of those guys who definitely brought in the darker realm of these superheroes, because a lot of people are, bright and they're colorful. You definitely can see Batman being one of those guys that will definitely just haunt you in the night and just be one of those things that you might associate him with being a criminal, which I think a lot of people have definitely done. But when you get to know him a bit better, it's like his dark motives are because he knows that a lot of the things that actually scare people is the dark, and is, bats, because bats relate to Dracula, and Dracula sucks blood, and everything else in between. So, getting to see those origins from the Michael Keaton one as well as the Christian Bale one, I think it was actually really cool, because you definitely do see like the transformation and to when he finally decides, yes, this is the realm I'm going to be going at. I think that they're trying a little too hard to make the Batman voice to be so ridiculous every single time he talks. I mean, I think when they did the Michael Keaton one, hey, he didn't have to change it all, fine with me. When they had the Val Kilmer one, he definitely tried to darken his voice a bit. It's like, okay, I'm fine with that. George Clooney did absolutely nothing. You're not Michael Keaton, bottom line, no. And then Christian Bale had to go completely like he had something caught in his throat. I think the best example of that was I think it was College Humor or BuzzFeed. They did like a sketch to where Batman is basically like trying out his voices. Like he's just doing like these random things. Like he's trying to be British. Hello, governor. Well, you might tell me where the drugs are going. Well, it's a process, girl. Then finally, like he loses his voice and he's just like, where are the other drugs going? And the guy's like, wait, do that again? I said, where are the other trucks going? You know what? I think that's perfect. Oh, I just lost my voice. You think this is good? It's just one of those things where it's like, it feels like that's what they do with Christian Bale. It's like Christian Bale was feeling sick. He just came in and he just started talking like that. And they're just like, you know what? Keep that voice going. I think that works. And then, of course, we go into the Ben Affleck one, which I have no idea what the heck they were thinking. It literally just sounds like he's a robot, or like one of the Terminator guys.
He has a voice transmit, like, to change his voice. I have no complaints with... I'm not the hugest Batman fan, but I don't have any complaints, really, about... Okay, well, that's fine. Okay, I have complaints about how Batman is kind of, like, crazy with the, like, hey, kill everybody, pew, 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 pew. And like, wait, he's got a gun?
Right.
It was funny. I was recently, like, I was doing figure modeling for a Harley Quinn figure modeling this weekend, and they were like, we were just talking about all the different Batmans, and they were like, oh, there was a conversation, you know, how Justice League came out the same day that Punisher was being released on Netflix, and then there was a conversation of who's gonna kill more people, the Punisher or Batman? And I'm like, that's hilarious, because it is a little bit of a, like, okay, I guess we're gonna accept Batman being kind of like, I'm gonna kill.
I'm going to kill everyone.
Even be a thing. Why do they have Arkham if Batman's gonna kill everybody? There is no need for Arkham Insane Asylum, because just murder them, Batman. Just murder them. But yeah. So that's the only thing that in the new renedition of Batman is how, like, he's just gonna murder some people and then maybe not murder the people that he really should murder. Like if you kill the Joker, maybe you'll stop a lot of things from happening. I don't know.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. And I think only in the, what was it? I think it was Batman Forever where it actually made sense as to why he didn't kill people. And even like the Clint Eastwood movie of Gran Torino, where he basically says, like, you know, if you kill somebody, you're going to feel like so horrible about it afterwards because you're taking a life. And for the Val Kilmer one, he basically said you're going to want more, and then you're going to want more, and then you're going to want more. It was one of those things where it was like, see, this is one of the reasons why I love Val Kilmer as Batman. He makes sense with why he doesn't kill. And then, of course, like you said, we go into the Ben Affleck one, and it's like, why exactly are we killing? Is it just because reasons? Or is there a point to it?
That's kind of like, I mean, I haven't obviously talked to people personally and was like, hey, why are you cool with everybody in DC murdering now? Like, let's take that out of that conversation. So what's the deal with not giving a shit about life? I guess I was like, what? No, that was a big thing and everything. And I think they wanted, this would be my thought process.
Okay.
Is that they wanted to be the harder core, more dark, serious side of superheroes, while Marvel's kind of the lighter side. Because if you even watch a Marvel movie versus a DC movie, obviously, you know, the color tones are different. You know, the filters that they use are totally different to edit. And then they also, like, let's throw some massive jokes in here, Marvel, especially at a time that everyone's dying. Let's joke about it, because it'll probably make our audience members feel a little bit better about the situation. Like, yeah, that's right. Let's do this. And, like, in DC, they're more like, oh, they're doing this, and, like, it's kind of a little much, and why don't we just flip it on its side and be like, fuck it, our superheroes are going to kill. Our superheroes are going to be, like, ruthless about this stuff in a way. And then you have your audience members like, ah!
Too real, DC, too real!
What is going on? No, Superman, no, don't kill him. Oh, Superman killed him. No, Wonder Woman, oh, she's murdering. Oh, no, and there's Batman with this machine gun. But in general, I mean, we were talking about Batman, and that would be my only real thing about Ben Affleck's Batman is, like, I'm just like, I don't know why they chose to just, like, be cool with everybody killing, but they did, and we're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah, at least until they try to replace him, which is, I think they're at a point where it's like, I think they're too deep into the into this where they can't really replace him at this point. But
well, it's not Ben Affleck didn't choose that.
Well,
if he did, that would be crazy that they would allow him to choose that. No, the director and the writers chose to make Batman the way he is. Like, so it's not Batman's fault. It's not like the actor, like, no, I'm going to bring a machine gun and I'm just going to kill everybody. And then everyone's like, oh, well, he wants to do it, so I guess we're going to have to rewrite the script. Like, no, they don't just do that. So I don't blame Ben Affleck for that. And I don't think they're going to have another just like Batman movie. So I don't think he wants that. But I also don't see them replacing him. If they do, that's going to be it would be on his own terms, and
right.
it would be really sucky for the movies. I don't like when they replace, like in Batman Begins, they had a different whatever her face is, different love interest.
Oh.
And then they turned her to forget Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Something like that.
Yeah, she looked semi-similar, but I was just like, I was like, oh, cool. They change actors in the middle of a trilogy. Like, you can't do that. You can't do that. It loses the audience. So I don't think they're going to do that. And otherwise, Ben Affleck is going to be paying a crap ton of money. If he's able to get out of this, he's going to be throwing a bunch of money their way.
Right.
So, that's a lot of fun.
Hey, you're not going to get any argument from me. All right. So we are just wrapping this up. I think we're down to our final one. So who have you guys your final favorite DC comic hero?
Yeah, I just was simple, and I chose Wonder Woman.
Yep, that's mine too. So we're just going to combine this one.
Okay. Well, super easy. I mean, there's not much I have to say about Wonder Woman because I've said so much throughout the years that I feel like a broken record. I'll say she came out in 1942. She's part of the main trilogy. She was basically like the third superhero DC decided to make, being part of the trilogy. You know, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman, all three of them were involved in our choices for a reason. They were pioneers of comic books, of making people fall in love with these superheroes. And it's weird, Wonder Woman didn't get a movie till 2017 because all of her counterparts in the trilogy has had movies since the 80s, but or TV shows since the 60s.
Right.
But, you know, no hard feelings because her movie made some of the highest grossing films of a female, you know, lead in 2017. Her movie is up for, I believe she's up for some awards. I'm not 110% sure, but I do think she's up for some awards. If not, they at least made a ton of money, and she's the savior of DC right now. So DC movies, the Warner Brother films, she's saving the whole movie system of being less disappointed in DC movies. So, and my only thing is like, who's gonna step up with her? Like, what female hero are we gonna get with her? And when I think about this, and then I turn to the Marvel stage with their people standing there, and I also am like, oh, well, actually, Wonder Woman's way stronger than Black Widow, so I guess we got ourselves going there, because when you look at the Marvel stage, I guess Gamora is up there, so Gamora is kind of a stronger hero that might be a part of Infinity Wars, but there's not really anyone else that is, like, even compatible with defending against Thanos. Like, I don't see anyone out there, like Black Widow's a great superhero here on Earth, and I guess I would say great hero here on Earth. She's not super. She doesn't have any like super powers. She uses technology and her fact that she's a really good assassin, trained Russian assassin. So it's like, oh, at least Wonder Woman is actually superpowered. So I would like to fill in the cast more, and have DC decide to bring in another powerful superhero female to kind of, like I said, fill in the cast a little bit. Like, let's not have 17 guys and one girl. We have other female superheroes. We named a few today. They're there. You just have to make them come into the script. And I think there's ways to do that. Like I said, I already kind of explained the dark side way. And that's already in the works from what I'm imagining. I mean, obviously Darkseid's the main badass villain, just like Thanos was the main badass villain in Marvel. Darkseid and Thanos are really similar. So there's a real easy way to bring in some cool badass females right there. But that's the only way I can see it. And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, to play off what you were saying earlier about she was Wonder Woman was up for a couple awards. I'm looking at, I think it's the 23rd Critics Awards, and it actually got 3 nominations. One for Best Costume Design, did not win. One for Best Visual Effects, that was won by War for the Planet of the Apes. Well, I guess I can kind of understand that. Maybe not really. But it did get a victory because it got Best Action Movie for that year. So
cool.
So yeah, hey, 1 out of 3 ain't bad. Just like for me, 1 out of 3 during the Golden Globes is not bad for The Greatest Showman. So it's like small victories, we're taking it. But yeah, you definitely did highly give a lot of positive deals and a lot of positive references on Wonder Woman. And one of the things that really did stand out to me when I made this pick as her being my number one was the fact that Wonder Woman was a great movie, but even when she's in the smaller parts, like in Justice League or in Batman vs. Superman, her character definitely does stand out the most because a lot of people are looking at this and they're seeing something different because now finally we have, as we've said before, a strong female presence in the superhero world because otherwise, other than that, it was just Gamora, Nebula, and Black Widow, but that was about it, and none of them really kind of had that deal. They were just like, okay, they're great supporting people, but are they really, stand out as great on their own? The debate is there, but for me it was like they didn't just, instantly pop out like Diana Prince did. And one of the things I loved about Wonder Woman was the fact that before the movie even started, they did like that little like history deal talking about Wonder Woman came out during this time. And they even talked about how many trials and tribulations they had to go through. Like, basically, people are just saying, like, well, she's too strong, she's too OP, it's not really feeling great. I think there was even a point where, was it like a lawyer or something like that, where basically saying, like, oh, some people might confuse her as a lesbian. She needs to have, some kind of love interest. It's like, does she really, though? There's a lot of other superheroes that are guys. You don't assume that they're,
Are all the guys gay?
Exactly. It's not one of those things where it's like, oh, do we assume that all the guys are gay if they're not there? Well, no, it's because, they're the superheroes. Yeah, that sounds hypocritical. But, yeah, despite every single trial and tribulation that Wonder Woman has gone through over the years, she has definitely persevered and definitely stood out to a lot of people as one of the best superheroes of this generation or any other. And no matter what incarnation she's a part of, they're still going to remember her as the woman. There's a lot of people that could debate that, but for me, she was definitely the top alpha female when it comes to the superhero world. Marvel's going to have a hard time topping that. I think that some people might make a case for others, but if they even get like another strong female presence, like you mentioned, it's going to be super hard for them to just be able to say, oh, hey, we can combat that with this. It's like, yeah, they're still pretty strong. I mean,
the only Marvel like characters when I think of like super strong female characters are the X-Men holds a ton of those. So like they could save that with the X-Men, but the thing is the X-Men aren't really a part. And I just remembered when I said X-Men that the Marvel does have Scarlet Witch up there too, but again, they haven't really given her a chance. Like Scarlet Witch is really powerful. Like she can transform matter. Like no one does that. Like that's against the laws of physics. But like she's really powerful. haven't let her do anything. And she is
right.
technically from, the X-Men world. So X-Men has a lot of really, really cool, powerful female heroes. And if they allow, I know I saw that they're already going to the Phoenix arc in their world. So, and that's all about Jean Grey being the baddest bitch in the universe. So, it's pretty smart of them, but they haven't been doing it right. So I can't just be like, woohoo, yay, go them, because I don't know if they're going to do it right.
Yeah. I think that's always...
That is Marvel's world. Like, X-Men is Marvel. They just don't own them right now.
Right.
And so I don't even want to say, like, they are on the stage with Marvel, because they're not. They're on the stage with Sony and Fox over there. Like they're on their own stage. So, like, they're presenting some pretty powerful females. DC has Wonder Woman. Hopefully they're going to think of other people. But, like, I don't think anyone really notices that, like, Marvel's amazing accomplishments with superheroes have been awesome, and I love it, and I love Marvel films, but, like their women are just not the best. And I know they're thinking about doing, like, a Black Widow movie, but I personally, I don't really care that much about Black Widow. Like, I don't. Like, cool, she's a Russian assassin. Okay, cool. Like, what do you want me to do with that? Like, oh, let's make a whole movie about her just going off and killing people, and, like, almost, like, this Black Panther movie coming up is going to be really cool, because that's, like, his thing, is, like, he's defending his country, and he's going out, and they're doing secret missions, and they do kind of have superpowers and, like, technology that nobody had. Like, so that's going to be really interesting, because it's going to be based on Earth. Now everything's based in space. So it's like, if you do a Black Widow movie, you kind of already missed it. You missed the gap. Like, you had to do it before we were all up in space, because now we're all up in space.
Yeah, there's no denying that. Hopefully, right. Yeah, that they... Well, not really, because it still relates to Wonder Woman, where, it doesn't matter if she's in space, it doesn't matter if she's on Earth, or if she's in a different realm. She's always going to be that main character that you look at and think, she's probably going to be, like, the next leader. She's going to be that one person that everybody looks at and just thinks, in a positive limelight. I mean, again, I make the joke during Justice League where Aquaman basically just runs down everything on all the other superheroes, just saying, like, oh, Batman, you've done this, Flash, you're this, Cyborg, you're this, and just basically compliments Wonder Woman. It's like, even in that universe, they're basically admitting that Wonder Woman is so much on a different level than everybody else. It's funny, but at the same time, it's just one of those things where it's like, that's a sick burn to do on your other superheroes. And I know I'm reading too much into that, but it's one of those things where I just thought, it's kind of funny that they did it that way. Because you have to guarantee at least 50% of the population is just thinking, did they just insult their other superheroes like that and basically say Wonder Woman was the best that they've ever had? Yeah, seems like it. Okay, am I going to object to it? No, because I think it's funny. And it's also true. So, true comedy right there. Again, DC, keeping it real.
Yeah, well, boom. And like I said before, my honorable mention was just the Teen Titans in general. So, Cyborg obviously on there. Cyborg was awesome. Hard not to choose him. Beast Boy, Raven, Starfire, who you touched on, and then, I mean, Robin in general. There's a bunch of different Robins, and you kind of already covered one of the favorite Robins, Dick Grayson. So, yeah, boom.
Yeah. And like I said, Martian Manhunter definitely was one that kind of hit me as an honorable mention, just because, as you mentioned before, everything that he's gone through, everything that he's done with, Justice League, really cool. So, with that, I think that we can call this an episode. In all honesty, it was awesome. It's one of the few times where I can actually say that I'm actually being a good boy and not saying bad things about DC Comics. I'm actually speaking to them in a positive limelight. I know it's like hell is freezing over. No, that'll happen when the Vikings win the Super Bowl this year, which, praying to God, that does not happen. So, with that being said, we will wrap up this edition. But before we do, we got to do the cheap plugs. VicTori Belle, do you have anything coming up that a lot of your fans would probably enjoy?
Yeah, like, I've been been saying before, there's the FC3 tournament that's going on. It's a charity event in Rockford. That's going to be Saturday, the 27th of January. So not this coming Saturday, but next Saturday. It's at Top Cut Comics in Rockford. So if anyone's in the Rockford area and they want to, donate to charity and see a Vampire Crusader, that's what I will be at this event. So it'll be really fun.
I was going to touch base about that because I know that's been one of those things that's been getting a lot of love. I shared that on our Facebook fan page, facebook.com/changing up the game, and even in my own personal page, I showed that. And there were a lot of people that actually were giving it likes, and it's like, well, everybody loves a vampire pirate. What can we say? I mean, or is it just vampires in general? Let's face it.
Right. Who knows?
So,
Crusaders.
Crusader.
It is a pirate type of thing. Like they were like, oh, give us like a pirate for like the next the Magic the Gathering at Exelon. And they basically have pirates, dinosaurs, vampire crusaders, and tribal people who like to ride dinosaurs. And it was just really cool. It's a cool set, and I knew a lot about it. Talking to the creators of the set, was able to talk to a creator about it. So when they told me what to do, and then I was like, actually, I'm going to be a vampire pirate crusader. They were like, whoa. I'm crazy.
It's that stroke of genius where they don't even think about it, and then when you bring it up, it's like, what?
Yeah.
Do it. So with that, you can always check out Miss VicTori Belle on her Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/VictoriBelleCosplay, which is also her Instagram. Go check out her photos. They are amazing. Also give her a follow on Twitter at VictorClark04, as well as myself at RealFNGame. So thank you, Miss VicTori Belle, for joining us again for another fun-filled week and edition of the Game Changer. It's always fun, and she's representing DC well again. And honestly, DC Comics, get a hold of her. She's got a lot of great ideas that I think you might appreciate. It might make you think, why haven't we gone down this path? It's like, well, maybe it's because of this reason. You know what? Fine. Yeah, you're hired, you're good.
Hired, you're good. But no, it's always fun. Can't wait for our next one. I don't know what it's going to be about yet, but...
Well, we always like to keep that... We always like to keep that as a mystery. Yep. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Miss VicTori Belle, I've been Nate the Effing Great, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Adios!